Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling something literally every educator faces at some point, teaching foundational grammar. But we're not doing dry textbook definitions today. No way. We're unpacking a highly kinesthetic, play-based approach to teaching the English verb. It's known simply as the action game. This is all about getting kids out of their seats, and we're going to walk through a brilliantly structured lesson plan that transforms abstract grammar into a tangible physical experience. So let's get started. Think about your own classroom for a second. How do you make learning verbs truly unforgettable for your students? It's a real challenge, right? Research actually shows that student attention drops drastically after just 10 minutes of passive listening. Grammar can often feel completely disconnected from the vibrant, super active world kids actually live in. If you just stand at the front of the room and write a rule on the board, well, you risk losing them immediately. The solution? We're going to bypass the traditional lecture entirely and go straight to the physical reality of what a verb actually is, an action.
Okay, let's dive into this. The brilliance of this activity is honestly in its absolute simplicity. You don't need expensive tech or complex setups. Your mental checklist of materials is incredibly brief. All you need is a blackboard and a set of small action cards. Just simple cards with basic English action words written on them. Run, jump, write, read, dance, and eat. That is literally it. With just those basic tools, you're fully equipped to guide your students through a massive linguistic shift.
So let's see how this actually unfolds in practice. We begin with step 1, teacher demonstration. Every effective lesson needs a clear starting point to establish focus. Imagine standing at the front of the room to model the concept before any technical vocabulary is ever introduced. Instead of talking, you just begin to move. You physically act out the target words. You jog in place for run, leap up for jump, and mime holding a pen and scribbling in the air for write. By making yourself the focal point of the physical action, you immediately and effortlessly capture the complete attention of every single student in the room. They aren't just listening, they're watching, totally hooked on decoding what you're doing. And while you're performing these movements, you kick off a dynamic call and response. You look right at the class and ask, with genuine curiosity, "What am I doing?" This is an absolutely crucial pedagogical moment. You aren't feeding them the answer, you're actively prompting them to observe the physical world and find the language to describe it. Naturally, the kids are eager to participate, so they respond with exactly what they see. They shout out, "You are running," or "You are jumping." Once they've successfully identified the action, that's when you pivot. You turn to the blackboard and write down those root words, run, jump, write. Only now, after the students have seen the action and spoken the action, do you introduce the formal concept. You point to the board and explain that these words that show work or action, are called verbs. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we shift gears into step 2, student participation. We see a fascinating shift in classroom dynamics here. You step back, and the control of the lesson is handed directly to the learners. This is where comprehension is truly tested and solidified. You call a single student up to the front and hand them one of those small action cards we talked about earlier. Let's say the card says, dance, read, or eat. The student reads the card silently, and then, without saying a word, they act it out for their classmates. It's basically a giant game of grammar charades. The rest of the class now takes on the role of the observer. As their classmate acts out the card, they've got to articulate what's happening. They'll call out, "He is dancing," or "She is reading." What's so beautiful here is the seamless flow. You might be giving encouraging instructional cues in Gujarati, and they are bridging that native language understanding perfectly with their active, confident use of the target English vocabulary. Immediately after this role play, you step back in with a laser-focused assessment question. You pause, look at the class, and ask, which word is the verb? They've just produced a full sentence, right? Like, "She is reading." Now they have to cognitively dissect their own sentence and isolate that specific action word. And the class responds successfully, dancing or reading. This immediate confirmation is exactly what proves this interactive, play-based method works. The students aren't just parroting some abstract rule. They're proving in real time that they can identify a verb contextually because they inherently understand it's tied to the physical action they just witnessed. The grammar rule is literally cementing itself in their minds through active play. And this brilliantly illustrates step 3, the fast-paced clapping game. This is the absolute climax of the activity, totally designed to test automatic recall under pressure. Picture the energy in the room just skyrocketing. You start rapidly shouting out a mixed list of words. Run, mango, sing, table, jump. The rules are simple but demand absolute focus. The kids must sort these words at lightning speed, clapping their hands loudly only when they hear an action word. So for run, clap, mango, silence, sing, clap, table, silence. It's a thrilling, fast-paced auditory processing game, forcing them to instantly recognize the core nature of a verb. Let's move to and see how this builds as an instructional progression. Let's catch our breath and recap. First, the teacher demonstrates, establishing that physical connection to the word. Second, the students participate, taking full ownership of both the action and the identification. And third, the rapid game, which tests their quick cognitive processing and ability to differentiate verbs from nonverbs. It's just a perfectly scaffolded learning experience. With the active play wrapped up and the energy settling down, we bring the lesson to a structured resolution. We finally present the formal definition. In Gujarati, you'd explain it as, Je shabd kam, kriya, atva action batave, તેને verb કહેવાય. Meaning, the word that shows work, action, or activity is called a verb. Because the students have just spent the last 20 minutes running, jumping, and clapping, this is no longer a dry academic rule. It's a clear, logical summary of the physical reality they just experienced together. To ensure total comprehension, you walk the class through a few final concrete sentence examples. I play cricket. The action word is play. Birds fly in the sky. The verb is fly. She writes a letter. The verb is writes. By vocally emphasizing these English action words, you're reinforcing the core objective of the entire lesson one last time. You're proving that verbs are the engine of every single sentence we use. So here's the big takeaway. Grammar absolutely does not have to be a passive experience. By turning the identification of verbs into an engaging, multi-sensory game, you completely remove the friction from learning. You're allowing students to